Okay, I've got 11.
Yes.
Okay. Well, good morning to all of you who are here already. I appreciate seeing you so promptly on this morning. Uh, we welcome you to this Greener Careers for Stronger Communities webinar, and thank you for joining us on this fast-paced journey. To keep our program to about an hour, this will be just a taste of some of the options available for people who are looking for a career that supports a resilient and sustainable life for all while making a good living for yourself. Since this is a program of the NAACP, some of our speakers will be pointing out any diversity hurdles in their chosen fields. But I too that this is a program who is looking for this kind of work. Whoever you by choosing a green job, you will make the world a better place for people everywhere. We have 7 speakers today from a wide variety of career paths. You might already have a job in mind that you'd like to hear more about, or you might be inspired to consider some options you hadn't thought of yet. Each speaker will have 5 to 6 minutes, which isn't long, to tell you what's great about their chosen field. Not a lot of time, but we'll be including a list of resources in the online material available later. You should stay muted through this whole event, but you can ask a question in the chat function down at the bottom of your screen. We may not be able to answer all of the questions while we're live, but we hope to answer some more of them when we release the recording. So feel free to share the recording when we get through, and resources with all your friends. We'll have additional resources in the comments section with the recording, and let us know what you find useful. Now let's get to work with Dr. Susana Velez Castrillon. She is an associate professor at UWG, teaching management, corporate responsibility, and sustainability. And I had 5 minutes and I only used 2. But take it away, Susanna.
To unmute myself. I don't see, are you guys seeing my slides? I don't see my slides.
Let's see. Can you?
I'm in Zoom, but I don't see my slides. I thought James had them.
James, do you have her slides?
Apologies that I didn't have them ready. I will have those up in just a moment. I'm very sorry, Susanna.
Don't worry. I can talk a little bit about myself.
That's why I finished a few minutes early.
All right. So, as Carol said, my name is Susana Velez Castrillon. I am originally from Colombia. My undergraduate degree is in biology, and finding a job in biology when I graduated was very hard. So slowly, over the course of 10 years, I switched to management. I have a PhD in management, and I teach at the University of West Georgia since 2011. And I teach sustainability and corporate social responsibility because of my background in biology. So that's still an area I love. So today I was going to talk about green jobs and you. So the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, so next slide, defines green jobs in 2 different ways. The first ones are the jobs in businesses that produce goods or services that benefit the environment or conserve resources. And I think those are the first jobs that we think of when we think of a green job. We think, oh, that is working for a solar power plant, or that would be working for a wind energy plant. But as a matter of fact, those are the less common jobs because there's not as many solar power plants or wind energy farms. So the broadest category with more common jobs are jobs in which your duties are going to be working for a company that already exists, and the company might not be making a green product, but your job is going to be making those products or the processes or the plant, the facilities, use less energy, use fewer resources, make it more environmentally friendly. So think you are working for Southwire, and instead Southwire is not making green energy, but you are working making the processes at the plant more efficient, or you are making working at Southwire designing the packaging so that it uses less resources or that it recycles more. So next slide, please. So the jobs in category 1, I summarize that as companies that sells good to others. So energy from renewable sources, things making energy efficiency. So if you work in a company that makes appliances and makes them more efficient, jobs in the reduction of pollution or removal. So those would be jobs reducing pollution in the water, the air, soil, pollution removal. Then jobs in companies reducing greenhouse gases. And there are many different ways, let's say maybe in the state of Georgia, some of the timber plants get carbon credits because the timber is helping to remove greenhouse gases. So that's an example too, or recycling and reusing. Then jobs in natural resources conservations, and so those would be working conserving land, conserving water, conserving forest. Then the last would be jobs in compliance, education, training, and public awarenesses. And you also want you to make sure that not all these jobs are going to be at for-profit companies. You could be working in natural resources conservation for a nonprofit. You could be working in public awareness and training for Keep Carroll Beautiful or Keep Georgia Beautiful, not necessarily jobs in for-profits. Next slide. The category 2 jobs are the environmental impact of the company itself. So again, energy from renewable sources. So maybe, again, taking the Southwire example, installing solar panels at the factories, at the parking lots, at the warehouses. Energy efficiency of the plants. So using equipment at the factory that is less energy intensive, reducing the pollution from the factory, so the water, the air contamination, recycling and reusing, and then conserving natural resources. That would be the other one. Then I went online, next slide, and I Googled jobs and green energy jobs. So if you look here for a minute, you can see at the bottom of this graph, we have the salaries for different jobs. And then for each job, we're going to have the gray bar shows the salaries in 2016. And then the green bar tells us what is the expected salary for 2026. And I want to call attention to the first 5 jobs, because those are jobs in which you're not going to need a college degree. So to be an environmental engineer or a conservation scientist, at the bottom of the page, at the bottom, you're going to need a degree. But the ones at the top have a lot of potential. They are all growing in salary in the last 10 years. They're expected to grow even more. And you could be doing good for the environment and doing great for your wallet. So, and then when you get the slides are going to work. Thumbs up. Okay. I should have given more time, but okay. So the last slide, and so when you get the slides or the links actually work, and take you to the pages where I took those from. So.
Thank you, Susanna. That was a really good and optimistic overview. You mentioned Southwire several times, and our next speaker is from Southwire. Tori Logan will be speaking next. He's been instrumental in helping us organize this webinar today, too, so a special thanks to him. He's manager of sustainable packaging and he's an engineer for Southwire. So, Tori, take it away. You have 5 minutes.
Very much. You see my slide?
We saw it for a minute, I think.
I think.
It's too much time here.
Yeah, we know that when there's slide difficulty and stuff like that, that's going to impact the time. So here it comes.
I'll just, so can you see this? See my
Yes.
picture right now?
Yep.
Okay, I'll just leave this up. I don't want to screw it up. But anyway, thank you, Carol,
There
for
you go.
sharing the brief intro. I know I'm on time, so I want to talk real quick about Southwire's approach to sustainability. And Southwire really has 5 core tenets: growing green, living well, giving back, doing right, and building worth. And Southwire, every team member at Southwire basically takes on all of these tenants. My particular job kind of leans in more on the growing green. And in my job, I'm responsible for the packaging of all the product that Southwire ships out to our customers. And why is that important to the environmental space? Well, after that product is consumed, you got all this packaging material left over. What do you do with it? Is it going in the trash? Is it incinerated? How do you dispose of this material? And so our job is to, one, find a way to use as little bit of material as possible in our packaging designs, so that when the product is consumed, you don't have as much packaging material left over. And then two, is there other ways that we can reclaim packaging materials that are, once the product is consumed, is there a way to reclaim these and get them back to the manufacturers to recycle, return, and turn them back into packaging material again? So that's the crux of what we do here in terms of packaging design. Of course, everything is cradled around cost. It's created around safety with our packaging designs. But the crux of our business is to reduce the amount of carbon footprint and the impact we're having on the environment. I just wanted to talk to the students that are listening just a little bit. I want to talk about how I got into packaging. The packaging school is relatively new. I mean, the first packaging engineering school was in Michigan State in the 1960s. Although packaging material and packaging itself is as old as civilization, a concentrated packaging engineering degree really came from Michigan State. I graduated from the Rochester Institute of Technology in Rochester, New York. And there are about, I don't know, dozens, I'll just say, of packaging science and packaging engineering schools across the country. Some of the major ones are Clemson University, as I mentioned, Michigan State, Rutgers, Virginia Tech, University of Wisconsin, and of course, the Rochester Institute of Technology. I would like for the students to understand too that I knew from the beginning I was going to be an engineer. I didn't know what kind. I thought it might be a computer or electrical engineer. And when I got to school, I noticed and ran into packaging as an option. And I've been learning about packaging ever since. And a lot of packaging is based on 4 Ps: protection, prevention, promotion, and performance. And in any field you're in, continuing to learn is probably the biggest information I can give you. I want you to keep learning. No matter how far you get in your degree, how far you get in your field, how far you get in your occupation, keep learning. And I think everybody on the call who's in the professional field will say the same thing. That could be certificates, that could be degrees, whatever, periodicals, AI, whatever. Keep learning. Also would like to say, in this environmental space, we're all connected. So the from the packaging to the products to whatever is being produced, we have an effect on the planet. A long time ago, reusing packaging was second nature. Like I can remember using coffee cans for lard and grease, and using jars for nails and coins, and that's recycling. That's reusing packaging. We've kind of gotten away from that because of convenience, but that is the mindset, I think, that we all need to have, whether you're in the environmental space or not. We have to be able to save our planet. And I think about my job as trying to make an impact on the world, not just self-serving, making a lot of money. But I do think that whatever you're doing, make sure that it's serving others, because if it's not, then it's really good for nothing. I know I got 10 seconds. I want to have one more shout out. I want to thank Carroll. So I don't know if I get a chance to talk. Carroll, thank you for putting this on, and James for leading us.
Thank you. We do appreciate that. We also appreciate delicious food, and Patricia Hetherington is here to talk to us where our food comes from and how you can be involved in helping others to eat well. Take it away, Patricia.
Okay. Am I sharing my slide here?
Let's see, can you hit the share thing at the bottom? Does that work? There you go.
You got it? You see it?
Yep.
Okay. I like this pictorial. It's from Bloomberg, and it just shows how are we using the land that we have in just the United States. And if you can notice that, I'm going to be talking about this little spot, little corner. And, the farming is, I started off as an engineer and have switched to farming. And a lot of people think I went backwards. I think I actually went forwards. And I'm going to start off historical perception that really doesn't match our reality. And I'm going to bring in the conversation that I had with my boss in NASA, and it just kind of highlights this. I worked in fuel cells when I was on the shuttle program. I'm aging myself, I know, but I started off with fuel cells, and it produces it's oxygen, hydrogen, and you make electricity. It also makes water. The oxygen is used for air, and the heat from the unit was used for providing heat on spaceflight. My boss came to me. We had been downsized during a budget reduction. And basically, my group had been sliced into went from 9 to 2 people. And we had no promotional ability, so climbing the corporate ladder was becoming difficult. And I asked him, I said, "Why is that?" And he says, "Because you're not critical. You're not that important." And I was like, "Well, who's important?" And he says, "Well, the engine guys are." And so I challenged him. I said, "Why do you say this?" And he's like, "Well, you're just not that important." And I said, "Well, because we don't make a lot of noise. We don't make a lot of hoo-ha. And we were just a pretty quiet, motley little group doing our job." So I challenged him. I said, "What's our mission? Our mission is to, launch into space, complete science without losing life and without losing vehicle. And, I just told you, we provided all the electricity, all the water, all the air, and all the heat. And so my point is not that we were more important is that we all are important. And we shouldn't have a hierarchy of who gets the money and who gets the promotions and who gets the attention. You know, you need to look at what's critical and looking at you know, not and in the world of farming, I find the same thing. You know, here we are, and farmers themselves think of themselves as not as important as someone who comes in with a suit or someone who does, you know, uh, or someone who does cows is thought of as higher than someone who grows beets. And I think we're all important, and we shouldn't look down our nose at someone who has dirt on their hands. So that's kind of what my perception of the parallels of, you know, this job that I have is that, you know, we all think we always want to the paycheck we have, the clothes we wear, the house we live in. And that's not always a fair ruler to say, because if we don't have, you know, the Hispanics working on the fields, we're not going to have food right now. Right now, 70% of their farms do not have a second generation. And so into the future, we have farms that are being turned into housing developments. We're having farms that are being mowed down and replaced by shopping centers. They're being flooded. Our farm was almost flooded because the decided that they needed water for the cities. You know, we're not taking these things seriously, and we are losing our farms one by one. So what I'm kind of looking at is that you know, we need to rethink the legacy farm for the next generation. A lot of us are taking it for granted that the food is on the shelves. And right now, a lot of that food from the shelves is not coming from the neighborhoods around us. They're coming from an entirely different country. And let me get back to and so what we're trying to do is trying to restructure the farm idea so that we have more like a corporation or ESOP type corporation, where instead of a corporation that's driving towards profit, we have corporations that are serving purpose, and that all of the stakeholders in the farm, from the flight train to the farmers to the natural resources and the current farmers and the customers, are all coming together and serving a purpose and trying to get the farms to the next generation without losing them to other purposes in life.
Thank you, Patricia. I think that's important to note that this seems like a good time to get into farming because there are farms that will be coming up for sale. And if we want to keep them as farms and have our local food, then this is the time. So James Perch, who you have all heard from already today, in management of the webinar here, but he has helped me out with other NAACP environmental justice projects as well. He's a licensed architect and entrepreneur, championing sustainable design. He is active in multiple community organizations, and he works to empower the next generation of architects, designers, builders, and developers. So he has a lot to share. Hit it, James.
Thank you, Carol. I have a lot to cover today, so I'll be speaking really fast, and I need all of you to listen as fast as you can. Can you see my slides?
Yep.
Okay. So I always wanted to be an architect since I was a little bitty 5-year-old kid. Growing up in Carroll County, I never actually met an architect. I thought architects designed fancy buildings for rich people. And after chasing that idea for many years, I realized that architecture was much, much more. So let's understand the impact of buildings on our people, on our planet, and on prosperity. Oop, getting a little excited there. Sorry. I used to think buildings as a safe place, our shield from the outside world. And that's why the early people started to create buildings, was to control our natural environment, or to control our immediate environment. But what's protecting us from our buildings? Most people don't realize how many health and safety hazards exist in the average buildings. And these issues are often preventable, but we rarely even think about them. And I assumed that most environmental damage came mostly from transportation and from manufacturing, but construction is actually the worst offender. As you can see here on the right, through the energy use, water waste, material extraction, and carbon emissions, buildings and construction industry are doing more damage to the planet than anything else. So let's have a little bit of perspective, though. The telecommunications industry has evolved from the telegraph to the smartphone in under 200 years. Transportation has gone from steam locomotives to self-driving electric cars in the same 200-year timeline. But construction, we've been stacking materials on up to make buildings for 10,000 years. And the Romans gave us concrete, but after that, not much has really changed to progress us forwards. And about 100 years ago, the Industrial Revolution started to make building materials more affordable and more accessible. They also started to make cars affordable and accessible. And so we're still experiencing the suburban sprawl that resulted from that 100 years ago. But today's construction site, as you see on the bottom right, it looks an awful lot like it did 100 years ago. So that means that the construction industry has moved slowly and it is ready for innovation. We are aching for breakthroughs in all kinds of areas, but 4 main focuses. That's energy, water, carbon, and health. Now, this is not about politics. This is about survival. And there is a huge momentum within our industry, regardless of who is in the administration and in the White House. There's not a question of should we change or can we change. The question is how fast, how far, and what little edge can we create to help us be a little bit better than our competition. But that doesn't always make everything great. Most people don't understand how buildings actually work. So we've got professionals eager for change, and we've got a public that doesn't know if their building is safe or healthy. So greenwashing is a term which means that basically you're making green promises for buildings that doesn't actually improve anything. It's like a placebo effect. And so marketing wins over performance, and homeowners would rather invest in new countertops and backsplash instead of addressing real dangers hidden behind their walls. We need to reset our expectations because we deserve better and we can build better. Now, I don't want to be all doom and gloom and give you a little bit of hope. For those of us who care and who test and who measure, who build very intentionally, we create remarkable buildings that are efficient, durable, healthy, beautiful, and affordable. A few of my favorite examples. On the left, we've got my colleague and collaboration partner runs a blog called The Green Curmudgeon. And he just complains about how terrible buildings are and how easy it is to build greener. So this house on the left is his house. This is his manifesto. He built it simply, thoughtfully, and affordably. Proof that extreme levels of performance doesn't have to be expensive or complicated, and it doesn't have to be modern. This fits into a historic neighborhood in Decatur. The Candida building in the middle is one of my favorite buildings in Atlanta. I encourage everybody to go and take a free tour. This was built on a demolition site, and this is actually one of only 27 living buildings in the world. The only one in the southern US. It produces more energy than it uses, purifies more rainwater than it consumes, and is built from more recycled materials than new ones. The Copenhagen on the right is like a bucket list building for me. This is an energy plant that they are breaking down waste to create energy. Now, you could stop right there and that would be amazing enough, but they decided that we also need to create recreation, fun, public engagement, and education. So this is a ski slope. And because of the nature of the turf and the way it was engineered, the ski slope works 12 months out of the year. There's also hiking trails, climbing walls, educational spaces, amphitheaters. There are places here to learn about and engage with your community. And it's a tremendous tourist destination, and it actually makes money for the community. So innovation happens every day. There's plant-based concrete. There's mushroom insulation. There's carbon capturing bricks. People are reimagining buildings from the ground up. And these projects all have one very important thing in common, and that is collaboration. Buildings are not the result of one person, but the results of thousands of coordinated decisions across dozens of industries, from engineers to vendors to installers. Every component of every building is designed, manufactured, transported, installed, tested. Big projects like Copenhagen, they take hundreds of thousands of people to coordinate, and they can impact billions of people's lives. This is not a trend. This is not about politics or an economic cycle. This is about the way we literally build our future. And careers opportunities in this field are exploding. Whether you like design, science, engineering, materials, tech, public policy, there's a role here for you. The demand is real, the work is meaningful, and the impact is absolutely enormous. So if you want to solve big problems, you want to improve people's lives and literally build a better world, this industry is ready for you. Thank you. And I'm sorry I didn't have a timer on for myself, but I'm pretty sure that was 6 minutes.
Was I was watching when the next speaker was due. So, and our next is also from Southwire, Mr. Odie Howard. He's a product compliance engineer, and he audits and laboratory testing to ensure that everything meets the high standards for public safety. Take it away, OD.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Like Carroll said, my name is Odie Howard, product engineer at Southwire. And first off, when I graduated way back in the day, got a degree in biotech engineering, and I knew nothing about a career in product compliance engineering. I first started out wanting to be a pharmacist, actually. And as the time went on, I matriculated, segued into manufacturing, working at a nuclear power plant as a chemist, working in the environmental department, and that kind of started the career path that I'm on now, because I soon found out that manufacturing has a major impact on the surrounding city and the environment. So let me share my screen real quick and show the presentation. Give me 1 second. All right. Can everyone see?
Yep.
All right. Okay, so like I said earlier, I work for Southwire, and one of the missions at Southwire is one of the goals is to have 100% carbon neutral operation in 2025. And so that's a huge goal. And the reason behind that is because the mission for Southwire is to have sustainability. So everything that we do, the products that we make, we want to make sure that we're having a positive impact on the community and not a negative impact on the community. Why I chose compliance engineering, it kind of chose me, actually. Like I said earlier, I started out working in the environmental department at a nuclear power plant. And then as life kept on moving, I moved into automotives, working in quality. I got to go around working in the quality department, the laboratories, managing the laboratories, and I got involved in the environmental department as well. And once I moved here from Georgia 2 years ago, there was an opportunity presented to me from Southwire and compliance engineering, and it tied together with what I was already doing in my previous career. And so the things that I've learned in compliance engineering is the small things matter. You have to be aware of every detail, because one mistake can have a major impact on the products that go out into the customers. And so my job is to make sure that all of the products that we are developing and the products that we are shipping out to all of our customers, they meet certain guidelines. And so it takes a lot of reading. And to the students out there, like Tori said earlier, never stop trying to learn. That's basically what I'm doing all the time. I'm constantly reading policies because the thing in compliance engineering is that things are always changing, always shifting because there's always new laws and regulations that are put in place for the protection of the people around us. And so the products that we send out into the world, as far as infrastructure goes, all those cable and wires, they're in people's homes. They're overhead when you're driving down the roads. And so we want to make sure that these products are safe while people are in their homes. And that's what kind of makes me keep going, because I know I'm making an impact based on what I do in my job on a day-to-day basis. Since we're talking about in the NAACP, I want to speak shortly on justice and compliance and how it ties together. So from a justice standpoint, justice means that everything is fair and everyone is held to the same standard, correct? And so in compliance, that's exactly what my job entails, is to make sure that the products that we are making, I hold our company accountable for what we're doing, so we're not taking any shortcuts and that we're doing things the right way. And so from my standpoint and from what our team does, we believe that compliance creates community equity in our company. And a few things that I wish that people would know about product compliance is that this career, if you look at it the right way, you have stability in it. Anywhere you go, a lot of companies are starting to realize that if we're not doing things the right way, then we could jeopardize losing out on customers. And eventually, if the products are not performing the way they're supposed to be performing, there could be a lot of recalls on products, and that could drive business all the way down until they're out of business altogether. And sustainability, from a product compliance standpoint, we're trying to design at Southwire products that are environmentally friendly. So we're moving ahead of what we can foresee the country is moving towards. And so we're always constantly reading up on policies, reading up on standards to make sure that we are doing the right things. And so when the time comes where laws will be put into place, we'll be ready for it. And if any of the students that want to contact me, my email is here, and I'm pretty sure Carroll and James can send it out. But odhoward@southwire.com. And like I always say, your career can be your impact. So, you're always thinking about what can I do to make an impact on the world? Well, if you just choose a career, that could be your impact on the world itself. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Carol, for allowing me the opportunity to speak with everyone. Hope you guys have a great day.
Thank you, Mr. Howard. Gears again. Our next speaker will be Charlie Rouse. He's a well-known local cardiologist and the founder of West Georgia Cardiology. He and his wife Deirdre also co-founded the Rouse Foundation, which supports global and local humanitarian efforts. He'll talk with us about the intersection of health and the environment.
So,
hi, Dr. Rouse.
Good morning. Can you hear me okay? Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes.
So I'm a local cardiologist. My name is Dr. Charlie Rouse. I've been in practice since 1997. I did 16 years of training after high school, for perspective. My focus over the last several years has been on early detection and prevention. And I'll talk a little bit about those initiatives as it pertains to the mission and foundation work that we do. Over the last several years, we've engaged in a lot of different foundation efforts to address this early detection and prevention initiative. And those some of those initiatives have been things like our Heart to Heart, which is an opportunity for us to discuss issues that pertain to heart disease and other concerns that individuals may have. We have a King of Hearts event that's coming up, which addresses heart disease in men, specifically looking at blood pressure, cholesterol, glucose, etc., screenings in an effort to try to determine if there are disease issues that a person may have that put them at risk of developing heart disease. But what I've noticed over the last several years has been the fact that there are a number of environmental factors that influence cardiovascular health. There are conventional things that influence cardiovascular health, such as high blood pressure, diabetes, cholesterol, smoking, et cetera, et cetera. But those environmental factors are also equally as important and now are being identified as risk factors for heart disease. They include things like air pollution, things like noise pollution, things like climate control, climate change, things like chemical pollution, that we have a lot of issues that you may be aware of and have seen in our society and in your community itself. And then there are environmental factors such as access to healthcare and clean water and food and things of that nature that really influence the outcome of cardiovascular health. So you might ask, what impact does air pollution or noise pollution or climate control or climate change and chemical pollution have on cardiovascular health? These things release a lot of pollutants in the body and influence what we call inflammatory processes in the body. And so it puts you at risk of clotting and having a heart attack or stroke. It puts you at risk of having rhythm disturbances. It places you at risk of developing weakness of the heart muscles, conditions such as cardiomyopathy. And it doesn't seem to matter whether or not we are locally or internationally doing the work that we do. We see these factors often. For instance, I was engaged in a case of an individual who was in our hospital system who came in and needed to have a procedure done, and she was refusing to have the procedure. After a 4-day stint in the hospital, it was evident that she was having a heart attack. And I kept asking her, Mrs. Jones, that's not a real name, but Mrs. Jones, what is the issue? Why is it that you would not let me perform this procedure on you, this heart catheterization, to determine if you've got blockage or not? And she said, Dr. Rouse, my daughter and her 6 kids are living in the woods. And so these kinds of factors influence our ability to get access to healthcare, obviously, but also to get the kind of quality care that's warranted. I remember when we were in Mexico some years ago, and we were in a place called a dump, 4 miles high, 4 stories high, and no running water, no electricity. And it's a huge community of individuals that live in this place. It is in the northern portion of Mexico where people dump their trash. So there was a young lady that came in as we were providing healthcare for those individuals in the community who needed, she was dehydrated and she needed some IV fluids. So we hooked her up, gave her IV fluids, and then her husband comes by with a stack of bagels. And this stack of bagels he dropped on the ground where there was cow manure and horse manure and all of this kind of stuff, picked them up, brushed them off, and gave her food to eat for that day. And as the sun was setting, I remember as we were leaving, I was watching individuals pick their food out of the trash that they were going to be eating for the day or the following day. And this is something that just stuck in my mind for years to come. So these environmental intersects, these lack of access, these pollutants, this lack of clean air and clean water and good food plays a tremendous impact on our cardiovascular health. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rouse. Yeah. And so I think it's really important to get teams of healthcare workers and environmental people to work together to improve the problems from all directions. Yeah. Yes. Thank you. Our final inspiring speaker for today will be Raina Turner Greenlee, co-founder and executive director, excuse me, of Black Sustainability Inc., an organization that connects Black sustainability practitioners to global contracts and grassroots and grass-top development projects. Take it away, Raina.
Let me do another check to see if you all can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Wonderful. Thank you so much for that. Again, my name is Raina Turner Greenlee. I've had an absolute opportunity to travel around the globe and connect with other sustainability practitioners that have been doing phenomenal work. My experience, I didn't start off, and I apologize, my children are home and they're going to be very quiet during this time. I know it. I trust it. But the work that I've done, I didn't start off in this field. I didn't start off in sustainability. I started off in marketing and international business. I got a few degrees and had an opportunity to travel to China, see the world. Then I ended up in South America, on the continent of Africa, the Caribbean. And I got so tired of seeing an opportunity for us to just advertise and talk about the issues and not actually solve them. And so what I started doing was asking people, well, who else is doing this work? Who else is working on this? And started to really build a database, right? This work was immersive. I worked with youth. I've worked with adults. I've done adult education around environmentalism and sustainability. And even along policy and advocacy, that really bridges the gap that I kept seeing was our communities of color were disproportionately impacted by environmental degradation and all of the things that you've already heard from these phenomenal presenters that have come before me. And the issue just really stuck with me was, why is our community not as informed? Well, as you just heard from Dr. Rouse, we're inundated with so many other challenges that we're just trying to get by and trying to live. And so I wanted to find those who were not, I'll say, struggling per se, but had the capacity to help and support. And it's been an intergenerational opportunity to work with marine scientists, with agriculturalists, with alternative economics, with our elders, with our youth, to really come and have this vision for bringing together all of these different industries and fields. And so what I end up doing is almost like a weaver or network builder. And in order for us to do that appropriately, we had to start with the shared language, right? What is sustainability? Because so many people have different definitions for it. It's changed. And for me and for our organization, we had to define it as the ability to exist constantly, to minimize and avoid the depletion of natural resources in order to maintain balance, right? And we don't start by looking at doom and gloom. It's a very big reality. But what can we envision? What can we see? How can we dream? How can we look at models in antiquity and intersect them with what we can do for modernity or for the future? And we also recognize that these are not new concepts. These are amazing fields for you all to pursue as students. Sustainability, permaculture, green infrastructure, looking at biomimetic design as you're looking at building or well buildings or green buildings or LEED buildings, renewable energy. But the big piece for us and our organization has been to really drive home that these are not new concepts. This has been done in antiquity. There are so many resources. There are so many references to how it was done without damaging the planet, and then also integrate it into modernity in a very beautiful way, right? With inverted homes that catch rainwater in Senegal. So what we realized was that the climate issue was cultural, right? And by reclaiming an indigenous worldview, we can actually root our climate solutions in a way that are actually beneficial to our planet. And so it shifts our thinking. A lot of us that are here are here because we've shifted our thinking, and we look at culture as our immune system. When we have shifted our thinking in that way, now we can move forward by finding innovative designs that are already there. And so we look at our indigenous worldview and see that we're considering 7 generations down the line. Plastic would not have been designed or developed if that was a consideration. Mazan, later, thank you. And indigenous sustainable practices are there. Mommy's on a call, thank you. Okay, she's gonna do it. I apologize. Quiet the whole time to hear you all's presentations, but when I talk, they've got to come. So we look at also our impacts across not just where we are locally, because we recognize that everything we do has a global impact, right? From the global south across the board. What happens in the city of Atlanta impacts somebody downstream, right? We work with the Chattahoochee River Keeper. We've worked with the South River Watershed Alliance, and we see that. And we also see that it has global impacts that are compounding. For those that have contributed the least to climate change, they are being impacted disproportionately the most. So let's not replicate broken systems like I heard, I think it was James Perch, talking about how you can better design, right? Where we're having better design with our homes, with our buildings, with our construction. And what we did was we took all of those names for everybody that we found across the global south that was solving these issues, not just professionals that went to school. We also added in a piece around being respectful to those who have obtained maybe not 4-year degrees, but they've done this for years. This is who your researchers are going to. We map them out. So we put them on a map. You can find them. You can learn more about their work. You can intern with them. You can work on projects that deal with registered apprenticeship programs. You can go across major career fields and learn from them, from composting to infrastructure on your farms, to agritourism, to developing cooperatives, to cosmetology, to fashion. These folks are taking shoes, threading the shoe waste and putting it in as building insulation as a way to tackle the salvage economy. So we're finding innovative solutions in communities that are disproportionately impacted, and we're bringing them together. So I heard my time. I'll stop there, and I will share the slides so that you all can look at any of the other career fields that we've identified and others that are there. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Raina. That was very inspiring. I think, the focus on Black people only appropriate in that, but also think of us need to learn from your experience, and I appreciate that. So, so I think it's about time for me to be saying thank you. So many thanks to all of our presenters today. You've inspired us in so many different directions, careers related to the environment and climate quality and justice. You can find out more about each of the speakers in the resources that we'll share along with the recording, including how to get in touch with them. I'd like to quickly mention just about other career pathways that help us build support for better communities in the future. Journalism is explaining the true facts about our problems and possibilities. Fiction writers also have a role to play this task. We need good visions of how we look if we were to do our best now. We need good lawyers to insist that environmental relations are not just done away with, but also are carried out in a way that is beneficial for everyone. If you are active politically, your voice may be the one that puts our government on a more environmentally path. Run for office or support the grant. Teachers at all levels and all subject areas can incorporate empowering knowledge about our world and the effects of our actions. Let's give a shout out to research having a hard time right now, but their work goes unseen, but their discoveries bring us new horizons, learnings from the micro to the macro level. You can see that the choices are wide range. We are just touching the surface. More information can be found in the resource attached to of this recording. And let me add one more thanks to Alexis and James and Fola and Tori for their technical and design expertise. That's a whole nother career path that you don't think of as being an environmental career path, but environmental people depend on people that can do those things. So it really has to build stronger communities. And lastly, I want to thank every day. We hope that you have enjoyed and learned something new. Please remember that NAACP has many ways that you can become involved, including being me. You can become the new Carroll boy. That would be just fine. So we're going to be including a link to sign up in the chat, in the comments under the recording. Yeah. So best wishes to all of you, no matter what your career future holds. We hope that it will be something that makes the world a better place, and we are excited to see what comes next. And we finished in under an hour. Can you believe it?
That's an accomplishment right there.
Yeah.
Y'all did great. You should in such a short amount of time. So, any final remarks that any of the to make? We have 4 minutes and completely out of time.
I'd like to
There are a
share.
lot of good. Go ahead.
I'd just like to share one piece here is
Okay.
to just try something. The fastest thing that'll get you to a yes is getting a no, right? Try something. Study with someone else. A lot of folks like to go out and start their own. It's so informative to work with others that have already done this work. You learn so much faster. To study underneath someone and try something on new. That's my only advice. I learned a lot. Learned a lot.
Yeah. I think Bill McKibben said that the best way for one person to make a difference is to join a group and be more than one person.
Yeah, I want to
There's an interest.
just add a little bit if I
Go ahead,
can.
James.
Something that I've failed to, I neglected to include in my presentation, which really seems silly for a presentation hosted by the NAACP, is that the architectural organization, the architectural industry as a whole is very in favor of promoting and advocating for minorities to have an opportunity in architecture. Historically, architects tend to look like me, white, straight Christian males. That is changing. The pin that I'm wearing right now on my lapel is the National Organization of Minority Architects. There are serious resources and support for diversity, equity, and inclusion to remain an important part of not only architecture, but engineering, construction, and our industry as a whole has very firmly declared that we do not rely on anybody outside of our industry to tell us that diversity makes our industry stronger. That we know that that there is we are a better architectural industry for diversity, equity, and inclusion. So there is a lot of opportunities and a lot of support and a lot of momentum in the architecture and construction industries and development, real estate appraisers, everything that has to do with the built environment. Is waking up to the fact that this has been terribly imbalanced for the entire history, and so we're working to change that very consciously.
If I might add, Carol, before the time goes out, I did put in the chat that the packaging engineering placement rate after graduation is up to 97%. That means you're more likely to get a job in packaging engineering than just about any other field in these college programs. And there is definitely a need for women and people of color in these industries. For people of color, there's a 4% representation in packaging engineering. And for women, it's even less, for Black women especially, but I think it's about 2%. So there's an opportunity there. These schools, if you're interested, I can give you a list of schools that offer packaging science. Thank you.
I'd also like to mention that Susanna on her slides had some information about jobs that didn't require college degrees, and I think that that's an important thing to look into as well. Everybody is going to go to college. It's not necessary. We don't want to waste the money. if we don't need to. But I enjoyed college, but I'm doing something entirely different now than when I went to college. So yes, there are many things that you can do without a degree.
Yeah, I think the slide that I couldn't show was just pursue certifications. And the way I found those was, I mean, you can find them on my slides, but I found those using Google. And it's like green jobs that don't require a college degree, and certifications that don't but my slides have that, so that'll save you time. But just it's not difficult to find those right now. So
I
thank you.
wanted to add something too with, there's a lot of people that are older farms that need help. So people can partner, learn the trade. And since a lot of the farms do not have a plan B as to where the farm is going, and they do want to preserve their farm, it might be a good partnership opportunity to reach out to an older farmer and help them out. Right. And be that second in line opportunity for him to see some hope, or him or her.
Great. Yes. Well, now we're at 12:01, so we have used our time really well. We have just packed it full. And so I think that rewatching the video will be a good idea, and also checking out the resources that we're sharing. And anybody that has resources, particularly of you speakers, but anybody else who has resources to share, put them in the comments section below the recording that we send out. And please share it with your friends, because I think there'll be a lot of people who would benefit from hearing about some of these opportunities. Thank you all very, very much, and have a lovely day.